A remote cabin, a married couple, a whole lot of unresolved resentment, and two escaped convicts. What could possibly go wrong? Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions. Today I'm going to give you my review of Over Your Dead Body. Huge thanks to Shayla again from Pixel Scene Media and to IFC for sending me over an early screener of this. Directed by Jorma Taccone of The Lonely Island and based on the Norwegian film The Trip, Over Your Dead Body stars Jason Segel as Dan and Samara Weaving as Lisa, a married couple that are way past the honeymoon phase. And by that, I mean they fully hate each other. The film kicks off with the two heading out to Dan's father's remote cabin for a romantic weekend getaway, with both secretly planning to kill the other. Lisa's going for a staged accidental shooting, and Dan's planning for her to disappear on a solo hike that she insisted on taking. Okay, that's enough of the air quotes. But those plans get completely derailed when they realize they're not alone. Two escaped convicts, Pete and Todd, played by Timothy Oliphant and Keith Jardine, along with a corrupt prison guard, Allegra, played by Juliette Lewis, have taken up residence in the cabin, and what starts as a weekend of planned vengeance quickly turns into a fight for survival, with Dan and Lisa forced to put their issues aside and somehow maybe even rekindle their romance along the way. I did a trailer reaction to this a couple weeks ago, and between the tone, the chemistry of the cast, and the level of violence that they were teasing, I knew right away that I was going to be on this movie's wavelength.
Amen.
But the best thing about it, easily the characters of Dan and Lisa and their dynamic. Jason Segel and Samara Weaving absolutely carry this thing. Samara Weaving, niece of Hugo Weaving, not daughter like I mistakenly claimed in the Ready or Not 2 video, continues to prove that she's one of the best scream queens working today.
Wow, she's really good.
Between Ready or Not, the Babysitter movies, Ash vs. Evil Dead, even smaller movies like Mayhem and Guns Akimbo, she really thrives in a chaotic, violent, darkly comedic space. And she brings all of that here, because Lisa starts off just awful.
Can you not crush the garlic? It needs to be sliced.
Yes, chef!
This could be
Mean, bitter, constantly throwing venom at her on-screen husband with every line, but Weaving plays it in a way that's so sharp and well-timed it never becomes grating. It's always just funny. And as the movie progresses, she turns from toxic spouse to terrified hostage to reluctant action hero, and she effortlessly handles that arc. Also, one of the best screams in the game. Had to say it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Samara Weaving's great, no surprise there. But Jason Segel, he was definitely a surprise here for me. I've really only known him for comedies, so to see him step into something this dark and violent was a bit of a question mark for me going in, but I'm happy to say that he delivers. The movie smartly leans into his gentle giant persona early on. Even when he's about to chloroform his wife, you see his nerves, his hesitation. You can feel the anxiety radiating off this character through the screen. It's actually kind of hilarious. And a little sad.
Keep it together, you're a man!
That carries over into the hostage situation too, where his fight or flight instinct is completely fried. And Segel sells that panic and desperation really well, especially during a game of sorts that he's forced to play with Todd.
What the hell was that?
But what impressed me most is how this character evolves and how Segel evolves his performance with him. There's this point where Dan shifts from panic to action, from flight to fight. And while that transition in the story feels a little rushed, Segel commits to it fully and brings a surprising ferocity to this role. He's still grounded in vulnerability, but there's an edge to this character that I really didn't expect to see from Jason Segel of all people. And the chemistry between him and Weaving, or I guess anti-chemistry, that's really what makes this movie tick. The passive-aggressive comments, the side glances, the eye rolls, the straight-up screaming matches.
Go to hell, Tom.
Already there, hun.
It all feels very real, like a couple that has gone from puppy love to I might actually kill you. And the script by Nick Coker and Brian McElhenney does a great job supporting that, giving them plenty of sharp one-liners and brutal insults to hurl at each other. The supporting cast is solid across the board too. Former UFC star Keith Jardine's Todd is an absolute standout. This dude is a tank. He's like a Terminator. He takes an insane amount of punishment in this movie and just keeps coming. But he's also surprisingly sweet and funny, with a few lines that genuinely caught me off guard. Timothy Oliphant, meanwhile, is doing what he does best, being a hell of a character actor. Despite the fact that he's sadistic and unhinged here, he still brings a ton of charisma to this role. As Pete, he has some genuinely creepy moments, especially when the movie lets you peek into just how casually violent he can be. But he also brings a lot of humor to this role, especially in his interactions with Dan, like them bonding over a movie that Dan directed. And then there's Juliette Lewis as Allegra. Yeah, she's pure chaos. From the moment she shows up, you can hear the loose screws rattling around in her head.
You freaking nuts!
And that energy never really lets up. The obsessive clinginess with Pete, the enjoyment she gets out of the violence and torturing this couple, it's just a great performance and she has a ton of fun with it. It's just not particularly deep, and that kind of leads into my biggest issue with this movie, because as much as I was enjoying myself, especially in that first half, This film takes a hard shift when the squatters show up. Instead of focusing more on the comedy and the drama between the main relationship here, it becomes way more focused on over-the-top violence and rapid-fire one-liners. Now, to be clear, that stuff does work. The movie fully commits to the chaos, and there are some wild, gory set pieces here.
Nasty.
Tacone and his team were not afraid to take this to some very hard R places. But after a while, at least for me, it started to lose its impact. The violence stopped becoming shocking. The jokes went from laugh out loud to chuckle or smile worthy at the best. And I found myself wanting for this movie to switch back to what works so well early on, the relationship. Because that first half, there's real depth there. There's comedy, yeah, but there's tension, there's emotional weight, there's actual commentary on a relationship that's fully broken down and what got it there in the first place. And once the movie shifts into survival mode with dark comedy and gory slapstick, a lot of that nuance takes a back seat. Even the villains, as entertaining as they are, don't really get any development. They're fun, they're memorable, but they feel more like exaggerated caricatures than actual characters. Overall though, this is a really fun, chaotic, and often hilarious ride that's elevated by two genuinely great lead performances. Jason Segel and Samara Weaving absolutely carry this movie, and when it leans into their dynamic, their dysfunction, their resentment, and the weird, messy path they take back to something resembling connection, it's at its best. But once it shifts its focus more towards violence and spectacle, it loses a bit of what made it work so well in the first place. It's still entertaining, it's got some great kills, solid laughs, and a ton of energy. I just can't help but feel that it left something on the table, because underneath all the gore, chaos, and dark comedy, there's a really sharp relationship story here. And I wish that the movie would have trusted that a little bit more. And that's my review of Over Your Dead Body. Thank you so much for watching. And thanks again to IFC and Shayla from Pixel Scene Media for sending this screener over. Please leave a like, comment, let me know if you're planning on seeing this movie or if you've seen it already. And I will see you next time for my review of Lee Cronin's The Mummy.